6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So technically, as you can tell from my background, I'm not home. So I'm actually in the Central Time Zone. It's 5 p.m. my time. And this is our every other week installment of Low Voltage Chat. I'm your host, Chuck Bowser, RCD, BICSI technician, blah 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 blah, woof woof woof. Right, with my co-host Kevin. Kevin, how you doing?
Woo!
Yes,
Round of
yes.
applause.
Yeah, I need to get one of those sound effects where I can do the where they go. Rah!
Oh yeah, I think
Yeah,
that's probably needed these days. I think, as your show's growing, your popularity is growing. I mean, you're almost a regular celebrity. So I
I'm
think
not a
that's
celebrity. I hate that. I'm just a regular guy who puts my pants on the same way as everybody else, one leg at a time.
well, you are an inspiration to many. Let's not
I,
argue that.
that I can take. I can take that. I'm good with being called an inspiration. I like inspiring people, and that's what that we want to talk about. I know we had a show scheduled with TJ Pate, BICSI Installer of the Year, but he's not on yet, and evidently sounds like he might be having computer problems. So we're just going to talk about inspiration. We're going to talk about what's happened this week in our lives, and we're talking about the RCD study group. And I'm going to share a major announcement with everybody today. Yes, but if you've been watching the social media posts, you already know what I'm going to say. I already know it, right? So let's start off. Let's talk about. Let's do this, Kevin.
Yep.
What inspires you about our industry?
Great question. Well, we mentioned we were doing a little pre-meeting, pre-show conversation, and what has always really inspired me today, forever, to basically when I'm driving and I look up at these magnificent buildings. I'm near San Francisco, and as I travel through my life, I've seen buildings, and even through history, we know that there's some pretty amazing man-made feats that are just remarkable. So I've always taken a really grand and what would you call it? Interest in building and construction and how an idea can become a Salesforce tower, how an idea can become the Sears Tower, the Chrysler Building, and the structural entities, and sadly, even with 9/11, to understand the integrity of how buildings are built to sustain, obviously, weather, not planes. But it's always been very fascinating to me. And so, as I spent a very long time in the security industry, I didn't really get as much behind the scenes as the low voltage industry allows you to get a little bit more in the weeds behind the scenes. And when I got more involved in the low voltage side and meeting our collaborative friend, Michael Akins, I saw that he had a stamp, and it was an RCDD BICSI stamp. And I said to myself, I want one of those. How do I get that? How do I get involved? And in 15 years of doing security, I had never even heard the word RCDD. So it just even more so allows, and that includes safety, that includes training, that includes scheduling, that includes like the whole facets of construction, planning, building, etc.,
Right.
to really get to the end point of a solution that you're providing and jobs.
Yep. Well, TJ got his computer fixed. He's on. Get ready. Here he comes in 3, 2, 1. Roar! TJ's in the
Hello,
house.
everyone. Sorry.
Woo!
What a day. What a day.
I hear you. So, that happens to the best of us. I mean, I've had issues with like that before. We're literally like the last 2 minutes before a show, something happens. I'm working through some technical issue. I learned sometimes you just got to roll with the flow and just do what you got to do. And Kevin and I were talking about you before the show. Were your ears burning?
A little bit. I could feel it. I could feel it all
Right.
the way
Yeah.
over
Yeah.
here
Yeah.
in
So,
Panama City.
so yeah. So we're live on Facebook, YouTube, LinkedIn, and also on Chit Chat over here. So if I look over here, I'm looking at the Chit Chat feed to see if there's any questions and stuff. But I was telling her how the first time you and I met. Do you remember that?
Oh, yes. That was at
It was
the
the BICSI
Or-
conference.
Orlando
2 years.
show,
Yeah, exactly.
Winter
So
Conference.
I was there hanging out with some low voltage nation people because I'm always trying to be plugged into the people who are actually still doing the work. And TJ was kind of standing by the BICSI sign. He kind of looked at me and goes, "You look familiar." And of course, and as I was telling Kevin, the first thing that goes to my mind is, "Oh, well, then you must have been in one of my Lebanon classes, right? Because I'm a Lebanon trainer." And he goes, "No, that's not it. That's not it." And I'm like, "Well, then I don't know what to tell you." And then I don't know. Nolan asked me something or another, and he goes, "That's right. Your social media. That's where I know you from."
TikTok. It was definitely on TikTok is where I first saw you.
Yes.
I started getting into TikTok more and more, and then it just kind of evolves. That algorithm runs and it starts showing you what you're interested in. So you start seeing cable feeds, all these TikTok channels talking about structured cabling. So that's where I saw you, and then it kind of went from there. Nolan and Lee Renfro was there.
And Blake Ermos.
Blake was there.
Right. Yeah.
Gotta love those shows.
Yeah, and I'm going to tell you right now, for those who don't know TJ, I mean, obviously he's a quality technician, and also he is a quality human being. And let me tell you why. Because right after I first met him, Florida got hit by a hurricane. I mean, it was literally like within a month, right? And I probably didn't get damaged, but it hit our country. And TJ, who literally just only met me once, he knew I was from Florida, and he shot me a message. I think it was on Facebook, if I remember right. And it says, "Hey, I'm right around the Panhandle. You need anything? Call me. I'll be there with a generator and fuel in my truck." That's the kind of quality guy that TJ is.
That's awesome.
Yes.
That's what you do for your people. I mean, we went through Hurricane Michael in 2018, and we were shown so much compassion and giving with everyone just coming to support us. We were out power for almost 6 weeks. So we lived on generators, and it was bad. I mean, we're still rebuilding in the, just in the cities that are surrounding us. We're still rebuilding slowly but surely. So when, someone else in Florida gets hit that I know that's in the industry, it's time to go help and return the favor.
Yep. He is a quality individual. So TJ, for the one person in the industry who doesn't know you, why don't you tell a little bit about yourself so that person can figure out who TJ Pate is?
I am TJ Pate. You'll see me on LinkedIn as Thomas Pate, but if I hear Thomas Pate, I know that I'm in trouble. It's my mother talking, or my wife is yelling for me across the house. I started in the low voltage industry in 2008 here at Tyndall Air Force Base on a project with a bigger company, just pulling cable. It's what I did day in, day out. I pulled cable from the comm room out to somewhere in the field, and did that for probably 2 or 3 years with a sizable company here in town in Panama City, until I started progressing into getting more and more into BICSI and getting more certifications, and it's kind of ballooned from there. I cut my teeth on a lot of structured cabling projects, anywhere from business with 20 or 30 drops, all the way up to an entire school that I oversaw for a 4-year project where they did a building a year, and they would gut the building, and we would come in and completely recable it, all new backbone, all new horizontal, all new comm rooms. And that was my first big project on my own. And that's where I met who I consider my mentor, Greg Cook with Cook and Associates. He's an RCDD, and he really took me under his wing. And it's just progressed. It's completely progressed from there.
So I'm glad you said you mentioned you threw out your mentor like that, but let me just say this one thing for those who are listening. Your mentor does not have to be an RCDD. If you have one that's an RCDD, hey, winner, chicken dinner, great for you. Yes. It's going to help you a lot. But don't let that shy you away, because there's a lot of great people in our industry who don't have that certification. So make sure you pick somebody that's really good. So very few people, when they're kids in elementary school, or when they do career day, and they say, "What do you want to be when you grow up?" And you have, "I want to be a fireman. I want to be a cop." I don't think anybody ever says, "I want to grow up to do structured cabling." Shutsky's in the house on TikTok. Hello, Shutsky. Your T-shirts are coming very soon, by the way.
No, I never saw myself doing this. I'm a good old boy from the Panhandle of Florida. I like to be outdoors, ride 4-wheelers, drag race 4-wheelers. I like doing this. I stumbled into this and really saw that I understood it, and I had a knack for it, and It just progressed from there. I never in a million years saw myself doing this.
Yes.
So if you stumble into something and a door opens and you walk through it, just keep on walking because
Right.
you never know where it's really going to lead you. And it's led me to, where I am today. So, and Bixie has been a big contributing factor.
Yeah, we'll talk about BICSI more in just a minute. So
All
you
right.
said that you saw that opportunity and you walked through the door. What about cabling or structured cabling was it that kind of said that resonated with you that made you want to? Hey, I like this. I can do this. What resonated?
I would have to say it really filled my OCD. Like building out a comm room and dressing my cables, everything was organized. I knew everything was properly labeled, and I could see a vision in my head and I executed it and it came out exactly how I wanted it to.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what really gets to me. Like when I build a fiber drawer and I get to do splice on connectors rather than having to do a splice tray. So now it comes out even cleaner because you've only got a small slack loop in there. It doesn't get overly complicated, and it's
Right.
just beautiful to look at. And
Right.
that's what really, really gets to me. And you can be on the cutting edge of all this modern technology. You're you're providing solutions for people and businesses,
Right.
especially when you start getting into wireless. A lot of businesses love wireless solutions. Well, they still have to have wire going to their WAPs. That's always going to be a need. And that's what really got onto me and really doing when I really got into the doing fiber work is when it really, really grabbed me and said, okay, this is what I need to do for a career and for a living.
Yeah, I understand the OCD attraction because even though technically I've never been diagnosed with OCD or ADHD, I'm a firm believer I have both. I was
Yeah.
listening to when I was driving from the class I taught today to the airport because I'm staying here tonight and then catching a plane home. They were talking about ADHD, and as they were listening, I was like, "Yeah, check, 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 check."
Yes.
And this is a perfect industry for that because especially when you start talking like dressing out cabling, that's why I love that you really pointed that out, right? Well, that's really cool. Hey, we got some comments in here. Let's see what we have people say. So Shazi says very inspirational, very cool, very cool.
Awesome. Thank you.
Shadi says hello to everybody. And then Brandon, I met Brandon. I was in Alabama a month ago teaching a set of classes, and him and we shared some barbecue. We went to a local barbecue place and had some dinner. So, and he
Oh,
says,
yes.
yes, every day is a what a day for me. Yeah, that's a great attitude to have. It's absolutely a great attitude to have. Yeah, go ahead, Kevin. You were gonna say something?
Yeah, I think that we should maybe have a 2.0 conversation surrounding how the mind thinks and how this might very well be the best career path for somebody that has a busy, brilliant mind.
Right.
And my only question for you is I know that we spoke last week, but as a kid, were you pretty technical? Like, were you the one that was putting wires together and putting your own speakers in cars and things early on, or was it something that you just stumbled upon, like you said?
No, not really. Not on the electrical side. I did more mechanical work. So I really stumbled upon working on four wheelers. And one of the things that I really excelled in was mechanical engineering. And we had a power mechanics class in high school that I took part of when they still had shop classes in high school. And it just spoke to me. Understanding
Wow.
how a four-stroke engine worked, taking it apart, how carburetors work, it all spoke to me, and I was like, I understand this, just clicks. Then that kind of progressed into where I am now with the electrical side and the fiber side. It just makes sense. And the more electronic work I do, doing access control work, that really fed into it. And it was a natural, just a knack for me.
Absolutely. So one of the things I bet you may not understand, may not realize because of your OCD nature, you would
Hmm.
probably be really good at photography. If you,
Actually, I
I bet you,
love doing amateur photography. When we were in Yellowstone, my wife and kids were making fun of me for like laying down, getting on the ground at some of these springs and taking a picture. And they're like, "Why would you do that?" And then I showed them the picture. They're like, "Oh, oh, that is awesome." I'm like, "You just got to try
see,
new things."
see, I hit the nail on the head.
Yes,
See,
we were at A Day for Alabama spring game last year, and I got some really cool shots of their new athletic facility in the locker room because anybody's an Alabama fan, you got the Alabama A. Well, the entire ceiling of their locker room is the Alabama A. And it's really cool, but you have to get really low on the ground to get it all in one picture.
Right.
And I wanted to do that. And so my nephews were looking at me like I was crazy. I'm like, y'all just stand there and wait. And I got some pictures. And instantly they said, no, we need those pictures. You go on and send those pictures to us. Those are fantastic. Yeah. And I do enjoy that. And all the four-wheelers, you've seen some of them on my Facebook page, Chuck.
Oh, yep. I have.
Every time we get to a race, we bring the bikes out. And they're all nice and polished pretty before they get dirty. And they all get pictures taken of them, multiples. We take a lot of video while we're there just to document.
Right.
And my Adderall does help a lot. It helps a lot.
I hear you. Oh, we got a great question coming in. This question is actually from John. John was in my RCD study group. It was either group 2, I think. Group 2 or group 1. I don't remember. Oh, which, by the way, I'm kicking off my 3rd RCD study group. It's kicking off on my birthday, June 1st. If you want information on that, just go to my LinkedIn profile. You'll see all that stuff. I'm not going to plug it here. But John asks, my low voltage EST students graduate next week and will become JW installers. Any words of wisdom as they enter the world of real cabling? What's your thoughts on that, TJ?
That could be a loaded question.
Yes, it is. As I was reading, I was like, oh boy, this is going to be a good one.
You're just coming out of the book world, and now you're coming into the real world. We all wish we could always all do it the way the book says. And sometimes you just got to roll with the punches, and have your students, learn from the old timers on the job, the experienced technicians, and take it with a grain of salt. Listen to what they're saying, and then apply it in your own way, because they're not wrong, right. But you might be able to find a different angle and say, hey, if we try it this way, it might turn out better.
Right. Absolutely. There is a divide from what the book actually says to do and how you do it in the field. That doesn't mean that the book is wrong or what people do in the field is wrong.
Yes.
But don't fall into the trap that the book is the only way you can do it. Don't fall into the trap that installer who has 30, 40 years experience is trying to teach you is teaching you wrong because the book says something else. As long as it's not a safety violation or something that's going to impact the performance of the cable, always listen, always keep your mind open to that. Because, and I ask this all the time, I tell my wife and I were both A-type personalities, right? So we approach problems differently. So we'll be out working on the farm on a project, and I'll be sitting a T-post and doing something, and she'll like, why don't you do it this way? And I'm like, I'm getting yelling, like, oh, man, you're right.
Yes.
But if you don't have an open mind, you miss that, right? Yeah, absolutely.
So Chuck, I want to add, obviously one of the reasons that we have TJ on today is because of a certain competition that he totally knocked out of the water. And I feel that if we keep highlighting this and really sharing that accomplishment to inspire other people in the industry to, not maybe follow in your footsteps, but to be inspired to strive for that type of greatness. And I want to talk about that, and I feel that can segue into where you can maybe answer more specific questions about how young folks or people in transition can get into the industry and do what you do, because I've got your background right here, and it's pretty grassroots, right? You've worked your tail off, and it's pretty amazing. And you've got how many credentials? I think
3 as of right now. My copper, fiber, and tech. And I'm my technician.
And you're credentialed in like 30 manufacturer, right?
Yes. Oh, yes. Yeah. It goes from multiple camera manufacturers to multiple cable manufacturers to vendors, all the way from Leventon, Panduit. I've done, Panasonic camera work, Axis camera work, Honeywell, access control with OpenPath, DSX, Apollo, just S2. It's kind of, you kind of touch on a little bit of everything, and I'd like that this would be a segue to a whole different conversation. I think, Chuck, me and you've talked about this, is BICSI getting into the access control world and standards, and that's a whole different subject on itself.
Oh yeah.
But
the
cabling skills challenge that BICSI throws on the winter conference every year is one of the things that I saw 7 years ago, and I was like, this is something that I really want to do. I got to see it for the first time in person, and I was just blown away. These technicians are just over there terminating 110 blocks. Just they're going across, just bam, 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 just knocking it out of the park. And I'm like, all right, I can do this. I'm pretty sure I could do this. First couple years I was in the competition, I got my butt handed to me. I'm not gonna lie, it's a lot of pressure, and you learn a lot. But then my third year, I did really well. Did my best in my division, and then my fourth year, I won. I won overall. Then my fifth year, Michael Ratliff beat me out again. He won it for his third time, and this past year, I ended up winning again, and was lucky enough to beat all the other highly, highly talented technicians that were there, and ended up being the 15th year anniversary of the BICSI cabling skills competition. And for anybody that doesn't know, it's over 3 days of competition at the winter conference. I think for the next 4 years it's going to be in Tampa, Chuck. I think
I haven't seen the location released on where the next one in Florida is going to be. So they seem to go back and forth between Orlando and Tampa.
Yeah. So it's always at the winter conference. They always do it there. They don't ever do it in Vegas for the spring conference, but it's always there. And there's, there's application process you go through and apply ahead of time. And BICSI normally does a big push and announcement for applying. And they select 18 competitors. I want to say it was 18 competitors to compete over the 3 days. And it's everything from fiber to running copper cable, running 25 pair and landing it on a 110 block and doing cross connects, to terminating fiber. They used to do hot melts. You had the option doing hot melts or cam locks, or, oh man, I don't do them enough to know the name of them. Man, it's not hot melts anymore, or Scotch locks, and you do Corning, the Unicam kits, right, and you terminate fiber. And there's 5 different events and a written test that is super hard. Last year, no one passed. Year before, no one passed. And I don't know if anyone passed in 19, because in 20 they did not have a winter conference due to COVID. Gotta love it.
Right.
Well, 21 they didn't have a winter conference due to COVID. So it's just wanting to get technicians at conferences, and that's I know BICSI's trying to get more technicians at conference. We all know that the conferences are geared for RCDDs, but I find so much good information walking the floor, talking with all these companies that are there, and you see all this new technology, and hey, I could do it this way. That's a new switch. Oh, look, this new caddy product. Nolan actually said, hey, I have an application in a hotel. And I said, dude, we have these we found these double hooks from Caddy. They're like that tall. They're fantastic for a hotel space. He's like, I've never seen them. I said, give me 5 minutes. I sent him the link. He ordered them and used them on his project. I would have never seen that if I didn't go to the show. Right. Every time I go to the show, I bring back 3 or 4 products that we actually start using on projects. And it helps. We have time saving, man hour saving, and it's really cool to be on the latest and greatest with productivity, and being at the Cabling Skills Challenge, allows for that, because after the 3rd day of competition, the next day they still have the full show floor going on, and you can take the whole day to peruse, because the pressure's off. Nothing's going on until that night at the awards banquet, and they announce the winners.
Yep. So you won it in 2020 as well, right?
Yeah, 2020 and 2022, technically.
2022. And then you shared a story with me. I don't know if you wanted to do a shameless plug to the people that were so gracious to give you, I believe it was a pair of snippers. Do you want to share that story? Because I love that story.
Yes. So I signed up for Joe Nard's Tool Ambassador program, and they sent me some, shirt and a couple of products to try out. I already used their D-ring snips. Love their snips. So right before competition this past year, we got into the exhibit hall floor early, because when the exhibit hall opens is when competition starts for us. So I looked down at my pouch and I said, oh man, I need some new snips, because my snips were rough. I just got off a big project. They were rough. So I went over to the Jonard stand and said, hey, told him who I was. He's like, yeah, okay, yep, I know you. I recognize the name. I said, I need a pair of snips. Jonard rep said, not a problem. He reached in a pouch, pulled out a pair of snips, said, here you go. Handed him my set that already said Jonard on them, put them right back in and said, have a good competition. So they started me out with a brand new pair of snips. They had no idea, and he had no problem or hesitation to equip me with them because Jonard just stands behind their product. And I thought that was very stand up of them, and it was absolutely fantastic. Ended up making a little TikTok for him too, and make sure to tag them in it because, it's that you take care of the people that take care of you without a doubt. And Jonard really stepped up and helped me out on that.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Let's look at a couple comments here. So Jasmine's popping in and she's saying, talking about the inspiration, didn't realize how versatile the low voltage industry was. Oh, by the way, that is one of my mentees right there. And she just got awarded 2 days ago her CTS certification.
Nice. Congratulations.
Awesome. Congratulations.
Woo.
Right. And then let me see here. What's you can watch the recorded show later if you have problems. Yeah, somebody said they were having some cell phone problems, right? Now let's get back to our conversation to inspiring people, right? So how can we inspire more people to try, because it's not like, again, like I was alluding to earlier, there's not a calling. You have a calling to become a cop. You have a calling to become a firefighter, right?
Yeah.
People don't have a calling to do cabling. We have to inspire them to do cabling. What can we do as an industry to inspire more people to get to this end? Because we're getting old, in case you can't tell.
Speak for yourself.
Speak for one of you, okay? I shaved the other day, and I'm looking mighty young.
You are looking mighty young there, TJ.
It does help when the younger generation realizes that they can go learn a trade and make good money and not have a degree.
Right.
I'll be the first to tell you, I don't have a degree. I tried college, and I realized it was not for me. I said, this definitely not for me. And I went through BICSI and got my certifications. When they realize you can make really good money doing this, that is a big motivating factor. Saying, okay, I won't have to, you tell me I don't have to go to 4 years, have this giant debt over my head, but I can come out making great money. Sure. Right. What do I need to do? And once they realize you just got to put in the legwork to start making that good money, I mean, it will eventually pay off without a doubt.
And you can make really good money doing low voltage. I know some RCDDs who are making $150,000, $175,000 a year. And if you put a security clearance on top of that, you got the golden ticket.
You start doing NIPRNet and SIPRNet work?
Oh, yes. I was staying away from that conversation because of
my bad. We're not supposed to say those words. Okay.
No, we'll have to bleep that out. And I love that you brought that up, TJ, because my message is very similar to this other person. You might have heard of him, called Mike Rowe. Dirty Jobs, Mike Rowe?
Yeah, I love Mike Rowe.
His whole thing is about tradesmen and build this up. I have been pinging him 3 times a year since I've started the podcast to get him to come on the show. So if anybody listening knows him, or because the 6 degrees of separation, right?
Actually,
you know him or whatever.
Actually, I do.
What?
Yes. Okay. So where I worked previously before I started with the company I'm with now, I was with Bay District Schools, and I was assigned to the police department because in Bay County, in the state of Florida, you have to have an officer in every school. Well, we have our own police department in Bay County, just for the schools. And our police chief is Salvage Santa. So he every year at Christmas, he does around 4,000 to 5,000 bicycles for local kids in the community. And he's been doing it over 20 years. He was on Oprah way back in the day. Mm-hmm. And Mike Rowe actually did a segment and a special with him for Salvage Santa. They surprised him. They decorated his house, donated, I think, 1,200 bicycles to his cause. They had a bunch of money, and Mike Rowe did it all. I got to meet him, which was absolutely fantastic. Super nice guy. Right. And he did an episode segment with Salvage Santa. So I can reach out to Salvage Santa and say, hey, I know you talk to Mike Rowe every now and then. We need a shameless plug.
Yes.
It'd be great to have Mike Rowe on.
Because our message is very similar. We're both from Baltimore. So there's a tie in there as well, too, right? Somebody on TikTok asks, how can I get a security clearance? The only way you can get a security clearance is you have to have a sponsoring agency. So you have to have a job. You have to have a need for it. It's not like a BICSI certification where you can apply for it and get it. You have to be working somewhere that requires that security clearance, and then the agency has to sponsor you to get that. So it's not something they just handed out, right? Only Fiber pops in on TikTok and he says, "I missed out Monday's event in Chicago. I did every time I travel, I always do podcast meetups. I did a podcast in meetup in Chicago. If anybody on TikTok, you know who Ed the Old Tech Guy is. So me, him, and Jehu hung out for a night. I tell you what, that was absolutely fun. And did you see the? I know you chimed in on it. Did you see the video that we published that night, TJ, about Milwaukee packouts?
Yes, I have. I have a shameless plug that I'm getting ready to do on TikTok and record, and to kind of come at you for that, just to mess with you a little bit. And I had to write a little script for it because I'm OCD like that, and I'll just stumble upon myself. So I gotta mess with you a little bit, Chuck. But yeah, we got one coming for you.
Tag me.
Oh, I will. That is happening without a doubt.
Yeah, the funny thing is when I made that video, so here's the backstory, and it's just us three, nobody else is listening. The whole backstory behind that video was my birthday's coming up, and I was on Facebook Marketplace looking for some feed barrels to store water and feed on the property, and I came across somebody who was selling a job box, and I was like, "What?" So I said to my wife, I said, "I want that for my birthday." She goes, "Go get it." So I went and got it, and it's really for the farm. It's not really for communications. And have it sit in the back of the truck, and I was like, "Oh, I gotta mess with all those Milwaukee pack out fanboys." And that's what started that video. When I recorded the video and posted, my wife's like, "You shouldn't do that. That's mean. They're gonna. You always try to be positive." I said, "No, you don't understand. This will resonate with them because we harass each other." And I've had so many people post videos, "Chuck, I like Milwaukee packouts," and it's just been really good. And then the last video when Ed and I were there on Monday, we did a quick little video, made it look like I was coming out of a hotel. "Chuck, is that you with packouts?"
I saw that. But did you get to keep those packouts? Because that was about $100 worth of packouts that you were holding.
No, those were Ed's. Those were Ed's. Oh. Those were Ed's.
Should have got them.
Hey, once the podcast starts making more money, I will buy some some Milwaukee packouts, and I will have them in my new studio. Guarantee that.
We didn't even talk about that because I got a lot of hacks and tricks, and I follow a guy local close to you. His name's Jack of All, and he's a pack out. He is the pack out man, and he has got some modifications. Holy crap, there are a lot of modifications out there.
Okay, I'm writing this down. Future show with TJ and I didn't catch the person's name you said.
He goes by Jack of All.
Jack of All?
You can find him on TikTok, and Facebook. I follow him on both.
Future show, Milwaukee Packout tips, tricks, and modifications.
And oddly enough, he is in the low voltage industry as well.
Oh, that's cool.
Nice.
I tried to get him to come to conference, and he couldn't make it. But to reel us back in, to not be the moderator on the mentor spot.
Right.
So, Kevin, I did get to share with you probably my favorite story about my mentor. Before I realized he really was about to become my mentor with Greg Cook. I was working this big school project out on the beach, Surfside Middle School, and they were taking a building at a time. And we were taking our first major building down and moving the main comm room, the MDF, to a completely new MDF in the same building. We built out a new room. And he was there doing his inspections, had all the prints. He was not only the RCDD, but he was also the mechanical engineer and the electrical engineer on this project. They all answered to him. He is super smart. So he said, "Hey, TJ, do you have a couple minutes? I want to go over this PA schedule with you and make sure this works out right." I said, "Yeah, Greg, I got time. I think I know what I'm doing." He said, No. Let's just sit down and look at it. So on his prints, he does a full schedule for the PA layouts by zone, by hallway, by room number. It's all done, everything. On a Greg Cook print, if you have a question, look on his prints. You will find the answer to your question somewhere on his prints. So he sat down with me for over an hour and went over how the PA was laid out, how the cross connects work, how the zones work, your talkbacks work. And for him to take that time when I'm just a technician, that only worked for him, but he took that time to make sure that I understood it. One, I could tell that he He cared about his customer. He cared about the district to make sure they got a quality product. He could have easily said, "Hey, it was on my print. Just follow my print," and walked away. But he didn't. He made sure that I understood. And when we did the project that I oversaw it and we did everything, it came out super smooth. All my zones were correct. My PAs came up and everything was right because he cared about the district. He cared about his customer and then trained me at the same time. And that really resonated with me. And he's like, if you have a question, just call me. And everybody, the salesman that I worked for, he's like, don't you dare call Greg Cook. Do not call him. Okay. I will call him. He's like, TJ, just call me. And I would call him as needed with very specific questions. And it got to the point, he's like, that's a good question. Let me get back to you. And it kind of went from there, and he would call me with questions. And once I started to get my BICSI certificates and, all my BICSI certs, it really started resonating. And he's like, man, you are really progressing, and he could really tell. And it's gone on. And I still call him about once a week just to check on things. And when I was working for Bay District Schools, I would talk to him almost every day on projects because then I really got to work with him, day in, day out. And that really meant a lot.
Well, wouldn't that be your absolute mentor? Oh, go ahead, Chuck. I'm sorry.
I was just going to say, we need way more people like that in our industry.
Oh, absolutely.
Yep.
Absolutely.
Oh, yeah.
That to me, what you just described is your epitome of leadership. And for somebody to take the time out for you, it may have been an hour from him, but it was a lifetime experience for you. And for him to inspire you like that, to set a gold standard. And I love that kind of leadership where, they're looking at you not to as competition, but as maybe their protege, maybe their what's going to be their lifetime hope is you. And
Yep.
I love that story. So Chuck, can we get into where I do have a question for TJ, where what are your thoughts on being able to spread the word a little bit more about getting into this industry besides going into local high schools or local JCs? What have you seen out in the field as TikToks or the Instagrams or what have you? What do you think that we can do to increase viewership, increase participation, and increase interest in this industry and be like TJ Pate?
Well, see,
there's nobody like TJ Pate. Let's put that out there right out the gate.
Yeah, we don't need another one of me, unfortunately. We do not need another one of me.
No. We do need
but you
more.
Can delegate.
We do need more of you, but you are a unique individual, and nobody's going to be able to replace you. That was my point.
Yeah. Well, and he's the standard, right? I mean, if we could have TJ in all of our projects, I mean, how reassuring is that? I mean, that guy right here is insurance that you are going to have a successful project, likely not over budget, likely installed how it was on the drawings, and it works. I would trust you 100% on any of my projects, 1,000%.
I appreciate that. That means a lot. I would say we have to find what makes things relevant and what really connects with kids nowadays. I never thought I'd be the one saying, well, we got to connect with these youngsters and see what they want with this talk tick and get on that old book face. I never thought I'd be the one saying that because I don't feel that old. I really don't. But, I mean, we really have to connect and see what really grabs their attention. Right. It says, okay, if you want to be on the leading edge, like say, okay, you want to be a gamer. Well, how do you get your game? How do you get your gaming PC on the net? Oh, I'm just Wi-Fi. Man, that's a slow connection. And they don't understand why it's a slow connection compared to a wired connection. Now, don't come at me in the comments saying wireless is just as good as wired. That's a whole different ball of wax. We all know it's half duplex and it's not full duplex yet. That's a whole different ball of wax.
Yep.
But we just have to connect. I had to go fix a phone yesterday. Yes, I do fix phones. And at one of our local offices for the company I work with now. And the guy's like, hey, I got it all fixed, got it all done. It was just simple. Patch cord had come unseated on the patch panel because they're old Siemens, the old 45-degree Siemens jacks that are all 45 degrees and vibration in the comm rooms on racks. I didn't think vibration was a thing until I saw some PBBs and some SBBs, primary bonding bus bar, and secondary bonding bus bar. Mm-hmm. The lugs were actually loose. And the guy's like, we tightened those. I mean, they were installed a couple years ago. I'm pretty sure those were tight. I said, were they torqued? And he's like,
Right.
no, I mean, it's tight. I said, vibration will loosen these, and it's a real thing. I was like,
Yes.
this is crazy. And it actually, so when this patch cord wasn't seated all the way, from vibration, it slowly came out. So this phone would get PoE just to come on, but no data.
Right.
Got the engineer hooked up, got them all fucked up. And I said, hey, man, I noticed your computer's on wireless. Why? I just never hooked it up to the wired port. I said, let's get you hooked up. Got him hooked up on the wired port. He's like, wow, this is better. Okay, cool. I'll let you know how it goes.
Yeah.
That led into, hey, man, I got this issue at my house. Yeah, okay.
Yeah. That's such a great point. So you got to go. You got to go where they learn, and that's a struggle for somebody like me, an old boomer, because I learned the old-fashioned way. Give me a book, put me in a classroom.
Yep.
But today's young people learn different. It's not better. It's not worse. It's just different.
It is different.
It is just different. And if you don't resonate in a way with that, you can't inspire them. You can't inspire them. Oh, I got a follow-up question on TikTok. Somebody says, what is an agency? Can you throw some names out there? That's my next goal. Any State Department, Air Force, Army, Marines, all the 3-lettered agencies, all those, you have to be doing a job for them.
Airport.
Airports.
Oh,
Yes.
that's right. I didn't think about the airports. You're right.
Airports are a whole different animal.
Yeah.
Whole different animal, because if you get cleared to go up past security with your tools, you can't be more than 5 foot away, and you have to have somebody standing by your tools.
Right.
I've had to do some airport work. It gets they really get on you.
Well, and it's a whole background check to boot. It's not you just get signed. It's you can't have anything on your background that's kind of sketchy, or you can't be arrested for anything, right? And fingerprinted, that whole bit. It's a big to do.
It is. It is a very big to do.
Yeah, it's been a while since I've done work on an airport, but the last time I did, I used to do some work at Orlando International Airport. And you had sit in a class and stuff, and they gave you the usual class, right? Because we were on the land with our vehicles. You can't be on an active runway. If you do, it's a $10,000 fine and all kinds of fun stuff. But I remember they did background checks, but I didn't remember being a security clearance stuff. But it has been a while.
Yeah, well, I think 9/11 kind of stepped all that up too.
Yeah.
That really changed the game on that.
I have clearance.
Nice.
That makes one of us. I don't have mine
you
anymore.
Like that?
I don't have mine anymore either, because if you leave the company that you're working with, it kind of goes inactive, and then after a certain number of years, it kind of drops off. So here we got a question from George Humphrey, also known as Kalen. He says, "Does TJ have a CompTIA A+ certification?"
No, I've never come across that certification before. I have not needed that yet.
That's a networking one, and he's also talking about that security form. Yeah, you can't just fill out that form. Like I said, you have to have a sponsoring agency.
I am working on my CCNA. I have to start doing my Cisco certification. I have to start working on that this year with my new role at this company. So that and Nokia routers. So
and you're studying for your RCDD.
Yes, I'm wanting to join Chuck's. Actually, shameless plug. Join
Yay, Chuck's RCDD training.
So I can get a part of that and start, studying from RCDD, because that is my next logical step, is to go ahead and get my RCDD.
Here's what I'll do for you, TJ. Here's what I'll do for you.
I think you're gonna do very well in that class.
Yeah. Here's what I'll do for you. That RCDD class, study class, is not free. Okay, we are charging for it, and I get asked why am I charging for it? Well, because it costs money to do stuff, and I got. My wife's getting tired of footing the bill for the podcast. Let's make them put it out there nice and simply, right? So we are charging for that. You get me, and you also get Phil Klingingsmith. For those who don't know Phil Klingingsmith, he has more certifications than me and TJ combined times 2.
I saw his lanyard.
His industry is a great icon, right? So now hold on. Now listen here, TJ. I'm throwing the gauntlet down right now. Right now.
All right.
If you want to join, I will give you a scholarship. for free to be in that study group.
For real?
You got to be there, and you got to all the way through.
Oh, I will be there. I will be there with bells on.
All right,
Figuratively.
I will
I'm
send you
loud
the
enough as
email
it
with
is.
the link, and you are now officially in that program, and you don't have to pay for it. You are on a
Awesome.
scholarship. So,
Thank you so much, Chuck. I really appreciate that. That is
That's awesome.
fantastic.
my pleasure.
Well, it's also, you know, a statement
One more
that
thing before I forget this, because you know I'm TJ OCD squirrel. I'm sitting in a hotel room looking out a window, trying to keep track of all these you and people walking through. Anyways, this week, my fire stopping class got recognized for continuing education credits by BICSI. I got a call from BICSI, and they were like, well, yeah, we've never given CECs to a podcast before. That's why it's been taking so long. We've been having some internal conversations. We just want to make sure what's going on. That's why I said, look, I am a podcast, but that's a class. It's either going to be held virtually, via Zoom, or I'm thinking about when I do meetups as I'm traveling. I'm thinking about doing it during the meetups. I just got to figure out how to go with all my fire stopping stuff. And I said, I'm also going to put this up on Teachables. And they said, oh, yeah, no problem. Boom. So I am the first podcast to be certified, or not certified, can't use that term. I'm the first podcast to have a class recognized for continuing education credits by BICSI. So,
yes.
Awesome.
That is first. And I was in that first podcast. I had to go in and out. I had to jump in and out. We had a couple of
issues. You did. You hopped in because I did the first couple times I taught it for free because I was just trying to get the timing down. So trying a little bit of practice. So when it comes out, it will be a paid course. And then if you watch that fire stopping class, just remember that it's not going to be expensive. I think I targeted like $19.99 for the price. Think of it this way. Number one, that's an hour's worth of curriculum for $20. Number two, you get a CEC for it if you're registered, right? And number three, it's a way that you can help support the podcast, help offset some of the costs.
Yeah.
So there's that.
I mean, everything has its price. Everything has a cost. And to get things going, like PBS used to close all their shows. We can't do this without continued support of our viewers. Continue support of the viewers. We got to support the podcast.
I got to throw this in there. So Scott is my best friend. He, TJ, here's the level of friendship you got to get up to be with me, right?
Okay.
You're close. But Scott, one day I called him up and I said, hey, Scott, we had rented an RV and the RV had broken down about Ocala. And I called him up and said, hey, Scott, we're broke down. He goes, where are you? And he got in his truck and he came all the way up and rescued me, my wife, and my dog. One phone call. That's kind of fun. But anyways, he says, I'm telling Barbie, that's my wife. So you better not tell her what happens on the internet stays on the internet.
Forever.
Yeah, exactly.
So I have an idea for TJ.
Okay.
So I saw this gal. She's a bartender. I think she's in New York, and she does the Tom Cruise behind the back catching things. And I'm pretty sure she's a professional juggler because she's able to. I'm going to send you her link and her profile picture. She's got 575,000 followers, and all she does is sit there and do drinks and liquor bottles and what have you. What if you created a podcast that showed you terminating jacks or connecting something or other, and maybe do it on slow-mo or fast-mo, and having like how fast you can terminate this or how fast you can terminate that or install this.
That is the next step on my TikTok, actually.
Nice.
So I've got 22,000 followers right now on TikTok. I've done a few videos just with structured cabling. I was actually doing a camera install a few years ago, and at a stadium, and I'm wanting to get more telecom stuff done, because there's a TikTok floating around right now about who can do the quickest RJ45.
Yeah, I saw that.
That's a cool one. I mean, that's because seeing how other people terminate and strip cable is fun to me. Seeing how other people do it, and I like getting in those TikToks and doing that. So yes, that is great, and I want to start doing more of that. And along with the racing videos are really popular, super popular. Yeah. So that is the next evolution, and trying to show people, what we do on the daily basis. So like Like my most popular video has got 743,000 views.
Nice.
And all
You're
it is
blowing
my
me out of the
four-wheeler.
water.
It's a video of my four-wheeler sitting in the trailer. It's not even doing anything cool. It's just a panoramic shot of my four-wheeler. Cool.
There
But
you go.
it is a little oddball, and it's a one of a kind. There's only about probably 8 or 9 more in the country like it with that motor setup.
Right.
So yeah, and that's like you said, Kevin, that is the power of social media.
Right.
Getting out there to all these people all across the world. I mean, TikTok's everywhere.
What we need to do, TJ, is I'm not at 22,000 followers. I'm only at 4,400 followers. So you're whipping my butt into followers. Yeah, I know.
I don't see how.
Cabling's not sexy. That's why. I don't have any modified dirt bikes on my feed. That's why. Right. So
I get it.
That's because you and I aren't that far apart, right?
No.
I'm just a little bit south of Ocala. You're on the Panhandle.
Mm-hmm.
One weekend, why don't you and I meet in the middle somewhere? I'll bring my camera gear. You bring. Do you have a fusion splicer?
Yes, I have a Swift all-in-one. I have their first all-in-one, their F4, but I do have access to a KF4, which is their core alignment all-in-one for long haul transmission. It does the strips, cleaves, and splices all in one unit.
Yeah. So let's meet somewhere in the middle. And let's just for a day, and let's just knock out 10, 15 videos, and we'll cross collaborate. Maybe I can steal some of your followers and get my numbers up a little bit.
Do some cross collaboration. I love it. That's great.
Yeah, absolutely. All right.
Well, you're a great inspiration, and thank you for joining us today, TJ.
I really appreciate y'all having me.
It's an honor to have both of you.
Yeah. I hate that I was late. We're on our second computer because the first computer was not acting up, and I was actually going to do this from a substation at work, and I was like, I'll just stay here and do it from here. No big deal. My work computer only had about 30 minutes worth of charging, and my charger's at the office. I was like, nope, time to go home. So I really appreciate y'all having me on, and we're just trying to spread the word, and get get more mentors out there and show how much mentoring really changes people's lives. I don't know if I would have gotten so heavy into BICSI if I wouldn't have had the mentor and Greg Cook kind of pointing me towards the way, and I probably wouldn't have got as heavy into it as I am if I didn't do the cabling skills challenge.
Right.
Because I really didn't know a lot of people. Now I can go through the BICSI Hall and I know a ton of people, and being on the RCSC committee helps a lot. On ITNS committee, that helps a lot too. And it really helps you get into the heartbeat of the industry.
Yes.
And it just helps so much. That's why I had to throw my shirt on before I got dressed.
Saw that. I saw the logo. I got my shirt on.
This is the only one I found out. I love your shirt. I have your shirt hanging up in the office.
That's right. I gave you one. I forgot about that.
This is the only shirt they've done for a winner. They don't even give the competitor shirts. And we've asked every year, like, hey, the judges get really cool shirts.
Right.
And the competitors get some cool shirts. They only do it for the judges. So next year, I'm probably going to be a judge, maybe. Or I'm too competitive. I might compete again. But I would love to
compete. You got to compete.
You can only do it. You can only win 3 times, and then they retire you. I get it. Michael Ratliff, who is a phenomenal technician, has won it 3 times, and he retired. Lee Renfro won it twice, back to back.
Back to back. Yep.
And we all know he's phenomenal with GoFro and GoFar. With all this training that he's doing now, which is phenomenal. Super excited for Lee, and it's just there's so many more opportunities coming into the industry. It's fantastic.
Yep. So let me just close this out. So, like I said, a lot of people confuse this airing with the Let's Talk Cabling podcast. This is actually a different venture. This is low voltage chat with Kevin and I. So we want to put out a call to action, right? A call to action, everybody out there. So if you have an interesting subject or something you want to talk about, make sure you look up, either her or I, and then, connect with us. And if you think that there's information in this episode that can help inspire somebody, just like how I just kind of inspired somebody to get his work on his RCDD, right?
Yes.
Share this information with them because we're better as a whole than we are as one person in this industry.
Agreed.
So
Kevin,
maybe
you
we should have let's have TJ back with RCDD behind his name.
there you
See,
go.
I should have known better. I see your logo, Chuck Bowser, RCDD Tech. I didn't even think about putting all my fun acronyms in behind me just so I have it. And we all know that when you go to conference, and you said this early, Kevin, that your lanyard, it's competition to
It's
see
like
who's
this long.
it is a legit competition. And mine's healthy, but some of these RCDDs are, I mean, they're long. They are super long.
Oh yeah.
You know what my press pass says? It says press. I got a
there
press
is
pass.
there is a thing called banner envy.
I
Yes.
have banner envy.
Absolutely. All righty. Well, unless anybody else has anything else to add to this, I'm gonna go ahead and close this down. Kevin, any final thoughts?
No, I think for all of us, you can go ahead and go to our LinkedIn page. We're all on LinkedIn. Go ahead and go to our profile picture. Underneath our profile picture is contact information to reach out to any one of us that's here today, and if we can answer any questions. And again, we're always looking for intriguing, inspiring guests. So if you've got an interesting story, interesting credential, or something that you can bring to the table and share your awareness and expertise, we'd love to have you.
TJ, any final thoughts before I close this out?
I don't have a good one-liner like you do at the end of your show, because we all know knowledge is power. That is 100% right. I wish I had a catchy one. I'm working on it. You inspire me to work on a good one-liner. But just help out others when you see the need. When you see that you can help somebody, help them. You never know how much that can really affect someone in the long run. It might only be a real small gesture to you, but you showing someone, hey, there's an easier way to terminate this, or hey, this is a simpler way to do this. It's going to save you a ton of stress and headache down the road. Take the 5 minutes, take the 10 minutes, and that will really resonate with someone long term.
Absolutely.
And just help when you can, and try to be to someone else what you wish someone would have been to you.
That's awesome.
Wise words. Wise words. Absolutely wise words. All right, everybody. Until next time, remember, knowledge is power.
Yes, it is. Thank y'all.